James Hilovsky, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. You do some interesting stuff with franchising, and I'm curious to just hear about your background and how you kind of got into it, and just more about you. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on here.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time and for all that you do.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you to start a little bit about your background and just with the Phillies, because I know you're still a Phillies fan, but you played professional baseball with the Phillies for a little bit, if that's correct, right? So yeah, if you could just share a little bit about that and just your playing days and yeah, I think that'd be great.
Well, my playing days didn't last long with the Phillies. It was like a brief, blink of an eye. So went to play with them right after high school. Was in their minor league system, minor league camp, and uh, I got to be honest. When I was first there, it was really a big wake up of going, wow, everybody's good here. Because coming out of high school and travel ball and all that, you do get people that are not, you know, the number nine hitter is almost a sure out, pretty much. And it would being in the minor leagues, you just saw all the talent and just amazing ball players. And I was pretty good, but I was really confidence shaken. And then I just didn't really probably warm up the best, and then I just started cutting it loose and throwing a ball, and just had this amazing just burn and sensation in my shoulder. And sure enough, it was basically a torn rotator cuff that. And back in those days, they were really hard to fix, and it was basically, I think Larry Heisel was the only one who ever came back from that, and it was basically that was the end, So it was, coming back and just what to do when the cheering stops, and so that was like, wow, what am I going to do? And I'd always worked in the restaurant business when I was in high school, and that's naturally just where I came back to. And I was in a fine dining restaurant, and from there I went into a bigger, fast food corporation where I worked my way up to where I was area director, regional director, and then the largest or one a company that was just starting out called me up and said, "Hey, help run our franchise side." So this was going to be we're going to grow this brand, and we're going to do it quickly, and we think you're the person that can do this for us. So I started when the company would have one store, helped build it up over to 100. So I supported franchisees with new openings and all their operations, and so that was a great experience. And then the largest franchisee from there said, "Hey, come partner up with us," and they happened to be very close to where I live, so that made it nice. I didn't have to travel as much, and they happened to be two NFL football players, and they were brothers, and we did Pyologies, we did our own coffee shop, we did our own cookie dough concept, we did another franchise of a Baked Bear ice cream franchise, and so we were doing really well. And then one of the brothers retired from the NFL, and the other one got hurt, couldn't fulfill the end of his contract, and they were like, "Well, I think we want to get rid of the restaurants, and we want to get out of the restaurant business. We're going to go in the tequila business." And again, nothing against tequila, but it was something where I was just like, well, I don't really think that's what I want to do. So we sold off, and then I decided, go looked at different things to do, looked at different franchises, in fact, and then I just settled on becoming a franchise broker. And what I do is I help find people franchises that are out there and guide them through the process. So I don't really sell anything, but I'll show you what's out there in the franchise world, and then I'll give you advice all the way through the process. And I also decided, hey, I'm going to focus on athletes. Will be one of my main focus. I mean, wish they all could be athletes, but I also have a heart for people in corporate America, because I've seen my friends, lose jobs for no reason when they just were getting older and decided to downsize, and so it's basically now helping corporate America and athletes. And the athlete side is, I just saw all the people working with the NFL brothers of that would have crazy investment schemes or something that didn't make sense that would come up to them. And I just felt really that a lot of athletes just get taken advantage of, I would say, of could get taken advantage of everyone that's, pulling on them of what to do and invest. So that
Mm.
was why I decided to make that a focus.
Great. So what is a franchise?
So a franchise is you go down the street. Most people think, oh, franchise, that's McDonald's, Burger King's, Dunkin' Donuts. Well, that is very true, but the franchise is your window washer, maybe your house cleaner, maybe the person that's a plumber, the dog groomer. All could be a franchise, and a franchise system is one where they help you. They give you a playbook. They provide a playbook for you of how to be successful in business. So you have to follow this playbook, and they give you support. They not only give you opening support, sometimes they'll give you support with site selection of opening. They'll give you opening support, and then you have that ongoing support. So you're really joining a team, and you're paying a fee to the franchise. But in my experience, I believe that that's well worth it to be in a system where they're going to support you. Not only the franchisor, but the franchisees in the system. They're going to become your teammates and go, "Hey, I had this problem. When I first started, what did you do?" And they've experienced. So it's very very good to have that extra set of eyes, and anybody that you could talk to has already experienced a pothole that can help navigate you out of that.
Hmm. Yeah. So, all right. It's just interesting, man, because we were connected. Well, we were originally connected back in the summer, and then couldn't make this happen until right now. So, first, thanks for your patience. But I've had the opportunity to listen to you on a number of other podcasts, and just the athlete part, because that's really why I started this, is because, and it's not always the case with athletes, but you're coming from the team, right? We were just talking about that before recording. You're coming from a team and then going into corporate America, which is just different. But what is it about the athletes that interests you specifically? I'm curious from your perspective. Yeah, if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, from the athletes, when an athlete is done playing, that there really is things that go through an athlete's mind of maybe even self-worth of if I got cut or released or they didn't do it on their terms. They're really kind of maybe struggling of what to do after the playing career is done. And an athlete, their trait is always, hey, I'm going to take a risk and bet on myself. This is what they've done all their lives. Where it's very an athlete and entrepreneurship go hand in hand, because you have to take that risk and step out of that box, and that's what athletes are so good at, because they're used to doing that. And in a franchise system, some athletes maybe went straight out of high school and into their athletic career, didn't go to college and go, I only know how to throw a baseball or throw a basketball. But an athlete has so many amazing skills that are out there. But they might think, well, I don't have any skills that relates to business. In a franchise, they go, hey, if you want to be in HVAC and have an HVAC company, we'll help you hire the right people. We'll show you how to run this business. You have to run the business. You have to hire, a team of people, but we'll tell you how to do that, and we'll give you the blueprint. So the franchise really is coaching you along the way to what to do. So you can have an HVAC business even if you know nothing about HVAC. And with athletes, that's like, oh, okay, yes, okay, give me that playbook, and I'll make this work. And another part too, an athlete always has highs and lows in their career. And in business, you're going to have a high and a low. Oftentimes you're going to have a low and go, gosh, I don't even know if I can do this. Where the athlete, they just have that sense that just digs them out of that, where they can keep going and keep striving.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Taking the risk and betting on yourself. So that's what you did, right? I guess when did you originally start up the Fran Dream? Was it 2019 or 2020? I was reading.
Yeah,
Okay.
2020, 2020 out there. And yeah, just basically was a just bet on myself. And that's my expertise. And just, and I had to go, okay, what's going to be my niche? Who do I want to go after? And it definitely was the athlete part. Just one, because of my love of sports, but two, working with those brothers, uh, and then really getting the corporate America, the people that need to transition out of it, where they felt their company has turned their back, or they don't have enough time to watch their kids play sports. And that's very important, of watching your kids play sports.
Sure. So then what would be the benefit, I guess, of going with I know it's like the freedom aspect and the ownership, but say you're kind of working your way up in corporate America, and I want to get to what we were talking about too, with like, if you're okay with it, the Franchise Brokers Association
Yeah.
survey that I took at some point, but like working your way up in corporate America where you could ultimately get that freedom, right? But it's really not the ownership still versus the franchise. Like, do you have that conversation with folks that come to you? They're kind of on the fence, a little hesitant, maybe.
Yeah, I do, and it's all about, well, I'm really kind of comfortable, but I kind of have freedom. I'm not really sure this is right for me, and sometimes even business ownership might not be right for someone if they, especially in the franchise world, if they don't want to follow the franchise system, bylaws of, and the franchisor sets these rules, regulations, and hey, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to run the business. You can't really veer off the road that much. If you really can't follow that, then a franchise system might not be right for you for sure. But we definitely, it's all a matter of the franchise is there to help keep you. And what I usually tell people is, yeah, your corporate America job is great, and if you're willing to take the risk, what you could do is, I'm not going to, business is business. It is a risk. I'm not going to give you like 100% you're going to make it. What you have the opportunity to do is create freedom. But let's say you have kids, but now you may be able, you're going to have a business that maybe might become a family business. You could maybe expand your business. If you have one location or territory, you could expand that into, just keep adding on to your business. And now you're talking about maybe building generational wealth, not only for yourself, but for your kids. And you don't really have to rely on 401k or social security, where you have your business now that you've built up that can support you through the rest of your life.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So 401k, that's funny. That's actually my full time, 9 to 5 job in corporate America is retirement plans. And I just thought it was ironic because you were talking about funding some of these with like a 401k rollover, right? That's sometimes what people do, which is kind of the opposite of what I'm doing. But it's interesting, like that's the way that you can do it. What about different types of franchises? Like I know that there's restaurants, which you coming from the restaurant business, you sometimes talk people out of. There's dog grooming. My dog's laying underneath my feet right now. We pay a lot to go to get him groomed. What can you just share maybe a little bit about some of the most successful ones that you've seen?
Well, yeah, the successful ones, typically really I have over 400 brands in my inventory that I have access to. I definitely will steer the client, uh, or candidate to where they want to go in what industry, but I will offer, hey, dog grooming, the margins are 30 to 40%. You're looking at a business that's open 9 to 5. Typically, Monday through Friday. Some people do it Tuesday through Saturday. If you have 2 days off, you're off at 5 o'clock. Great hours, and a chance to really, in this particular industry franchise, get a chance to make your money back well within the first year and to build a nice little empire. That's just kind of one example that you go, wow, maybe I should look at dog grooming. First, you have to like what you do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But there are, a franchise that does tree trimming, pest control, and lawn care. So they do 3 services all in one, and they're they're in Ohio, I believe, and you're talking they did 7 million out of one of their territories. So that could be very lucrative too.
In one
Uh,
year? That's in 7
as
million in the year?
in 1 year, they did 7 million off their top line. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So that could be very lucrative. You wouldn't think, wow, trimming trees, okay. Window washing company, very small investment, right about 100, 120K. They're doing 600K off the top line and about 200K going to the bottom line just from watching windows. So there's many different things. We talked about HVAC that's out there that could be very lucrative. That's out there, and all these franchises, you could have another territory or having to build another unit on, and like I said, just grow that. There's pest control that's out there. There's even a basketball player that got into a franchise that just sells wedding dresses for his wife, and they just they don't hold the inventory. The bride and the bridal party comes in, gets fitted. They send it to the company, and they send the everything out that's tailored. They come in, pick make sure it fits, and then they're on their way. Very good franchise as well that you would never think. Well, there's a wedding dress franchise, and then the things the athletes go to for the fitness, where you have the gyms that are out there, you have muscle recovery studios, and there's weight loss centers. There's just so many that I would say if you are looking for a franchise, you should get a franchise broker that can help you. And if you're kind of, like don't know what you want, you just, the broker will ask you questions that will help you, help him or her put you in a right good fit for you, as well as there's tools that we can use where you can take a Zoracle profile, where could kind of profile of what you're kind of lacking right now and kind of what franchise might be a great fit for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for walking me through that. So that profile, maybe that's a good segue into just discussing that, because I was on your site last night and just checking it out and took the, I'm sorry, what is it? A Zoracle profile?
Zoracle profile.
Okay. Right. So it's almost one of those like behavioral surveys, whatever, 30 questions, 40 questions maybe. But it's interesting because mine said battle cry, empower, business model simple and replicable. Like, maybe can you just walk through what that is and how that could help you identify maybe what you should get into, or maybe identify a little bit more about yourself, understand
Yeah,
yourself?
so it will give you keys of like you're saying, maybe at the business model might be simple what you're looking for, and that may mean something like, well, restaurant's not simple, so the restaurant, boom, check, that's off. Of course, myself, I still talk with the client and candidate and try to figure out what that is, because it's just like sometimes you can have too much analytics, okay, because in the NFL, I think coaches are getting a little crazy on going for it on fourth down and not kicking field goals. But enough said on that. The analytics might be taking over a little bit too much of the game there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But so, anyways, yes, you would use that of maybe, hey, it's a simple business model, and kind of it will give you like different. It will give you what's called some splatter dots of what are you really kind of lacking in your life or looking at, and some of them might be I'm lacking freedom, I'm lacking I'm basically lacking
team. Yeah. Like
teamwork, yeah,
being on a team.
team. I'm lacking team, I'm lacking teamwork, I'm lacking freedom. I'm really basically uh, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So then that goes, okay, well, get you a job, a franchise that maybe is like dog grooming, where it's only 5 days a week, where you have those 2 days off, and you are done at 5 o'clock, and And is it a franchise that you could get a manager to run the day to day for you, and you could either keep your job, or you're going to, and then transition into it. And then the manager will basically be running the day to day, but you'll be running the business. So there's a lot of different factors that Zoracle can tell you where you can place that candidate into, different franchise models that might fit. I typically will show a candidate 5 to 10 different franchises that I think might be a fit, and there are what the candidate would do. Go, gosh, James, you show me these 5 or 10 franchises. I really love these, 3 businesses. I want to talk with the franchisor. Then what I will do is I'll introduce them to the franchisor, make that introduction. And then as they're going through the process and learning more about the franchise, I'll help them with different decisions that are out there.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And that's what, so before we were recording it, that's our recording here. That's what my survey showed. It's like, you want freedom and you want teamwork, which are both things that, are in my life currently, but maybe that's what I'm like really looking for. And that maybe that could help me, help match me up with something if I was a candidate. So, one thing I've heard you talk about too is the involvement of athletes or anybody getting into the franchises. Like sometimes maybe there's a misconception of, all right, they can just sign up for it and then step out of the business. Can you maybe share a little bit about that, like the involvement and the maybe some folks don't want to be as involved, others more so? Just curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So there's some, when you first start talking franchising, some people will think, well, okay, so I'm just going to buy into the business and they're going to run it, and I'm just going to, just kick back and just collect my money. Well, no, you're really buying a business for you, and it's your business to run it. It's your assets that you're putting into the business. So there's always going to be a franchise fee that you pay up front to the franchise. And that's to collect their wisdom, cover their training costs, cover their initiation fee. And then you're going to have the total cost to start the franchise. It's not going to the franchisor, it's your cost of opening the business. So you might need an office space, you might need to do a build out, depending on what the franchise is, and they're going to clarify that it's going to cost you about $100,000 to $200,000 to build out, or if it's a big entertainment center, it could be much higher than that. So you're putting that money into that, you're building your business, and you're hiring your employees, and it's basically your business, and you make it run. At the end of the day, what you want to do in a franchise system really is find the franchise or that is going to give you the best support possible. And that is going to give you the best chance to succeed. And your business is your business. At the end of the day, it's all going to be about how you run the business, how you set up the team and set up your business, if you're going to succeed or not. So yes, you do have to be part of the opening team, the day to day. You have to choose that manager of who you're going to do it. If you're going to be what they call semi-passive, where you're going to have the manager run the day to day, and you're going to be involved in the business, but maybe the business model is where you can really only have to be involved in it maybe 10 hours a week. And then there's some franchises that no, you have to be running the day to day in the business and at the business and making it work. You have to be there basically whatever it takes, 40 plus hours to do that, if that's what the franchise model looks like. So there's different ways you can go about it, but it is up to you to make the engine turn and to drive it, and to you are not just putting money in and sitting back and collecting a check. You're driving the business and building the business.
Got it. So it's not like a passive real estate type of situation that you always hear, I don't know, on like social media and everything like that. It's like passive, and then you just kind of step away from it. But why are you passionate about this stuff?
Because it really does. It changed people's lives. What I learned in just from my journey from going into biology and helping franchisees when I very first started, working with them hand in hand. If I would tell them to make a change into the restaurant, or do this or do that, and it made operations easier, or save them money, you know, it really, it changes their lives. There's some franchisees that I've coached, and they've said, wow, you really have helped me streamline my operations. I now have some more time with my family. So it changes their life. So in this aspect too, if it's helping someone transition out, it changes their life, and it gives them a chance at typically generational wealth, or it just someone who's like, hey, I'm in HR. I love my job. It's a great job, but I can see in about a year, I think they're going to get rid of me. You could kind of see it coming, and they're like, that's why I want to get a franchise. So, and you play someone, and they find a great fit, and now that stress is relief that, okay, I was going to be let go of my job. Not that I had bad performance, it's just they were going to downsize. And now I have this, and I can put all my efforts into this, and all of the hours to build this is building this for me instead of company X. So it is a very great mindset when you can get into that entrepreneur spirit that, hey, I'm doing this for me, my family, and not the company. And
Hmm.
it is very rewarding.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you've seen it change people's lives. That's awesome. Um, all right, James. What books are over your shoulder?
Oh, well, there's definitely all different franchising books. There's a little Tony Robbins,
Well, Tony
uh,
Robbins. All right,
yeah, Tony
nice.
Robbins. I definitely, um, I always try to kind of read, like, it's not up there, but different different aspects of people that have been very successful, like uh, you know, like real estate millionaire, like agents. So like Josh Altman, and the millionaire guys. Just see kind of like their mindset, or Ryan Serhant, of like, wow, I was, I had nothing, and he was renting basic apartments to making a little commission, and lives his life on commission. And just the struggles of, gosh, I didn't know if I could do this or not. And then, something just clicks, and if you just trust and believe in yourself, and don't get too down on yourself of, hey, I can do this, and I could do anything I set my mind to, is very fascinating reads for sure. I
Mm.
definitely love to read all the sports biography, just about the sports athletes, and coming up, and how they had to deal with adversity. And that's another reason why I think athletes deal with more adversity sometimes than people in corporate America, that of just having to deal with through their lives, of having to deal with that, and how to persevere, and fight through that.
I totally agree. So from your perspective, then, because that's what I've liked just hearing from people on this podcast, just about their mindset, and it's been mostly athletes that have come on, or former athletes, and just talking about like what's helped them. You were saying before that you're at almost a one man show. Like, I know you have teams that are in the background helping you out, but how do you keep that in perspective for yourself, and like just staying on track if you're struggling with maybe it's slower with the business, or anything like that? Like what are you doing for yourself to keep going?
That, and sometimes it can become a roller coaster of, wow, I'm really, it's really getting tough, where I have candidates coming out, and it's great when they're in there in the pipeline. And sometimes it's like, the pipeline's a little shy. I could see, if I look in the future, I go, ooh, my pipeline's getting a little thin. This could be, trouble coming. And the thing is, just try to stay positive, knowing that, that this was the path that was shown to me. God put me on this path, and he didn't wake up one day and go, geez, I think I put James on the wrong path. It's just, that belief that you're going to be okay, and just trust, just trust in everything, and trust that you are out there, that everything's going to be okay. and to keep going. And the worst thing, just and really, I kind of turned back to equate it to in my playing days of an athlete of when you were in a slump, hitting slump, did you just go in the corner and just sit there and go, gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this slump. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna sit here and it's all going to get better. I'm going to feel sorry for myself. And I've grounded into 3 double plays in my last at bat. Am I am I going to ask the coach to pinch it for me? And it just draw back on that. And it's like, what did you do? Well, I went in the cage more, and I hit, and I went out to coaches and said, what do you see? What do you see? Do you see, is my elbow up? Am I striding too far? Is my swing down, uppercutting? So it's a matter of, keep going, persevere, ask for help. If you're, ask some different peers of there for some help and guidance, because everybody needs guidance. And I think that's kind of key when things aren't going well. Just, have some time where, I have a network of brokers that I could talk to and go, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. And they could just give you words of encouragement and no real advice, but that kind of puts you up. So that's definitely kind of how I kind of do draw back on the athletic days and go, you got to keep going. You're never, just got to work harder at it.
Yeah, man. I love that. I've never even really considered that analogy because I was a baseball player too. Like I think I shared with you in college, but yeah, like you're not just gonna quit the team or something just because you're going through a slump. It's the same. I mean, I could probably adopt that mindset for my day job right now too. It's like you may be struggling or you're making cold calls or whatever it is, and people aren't answering. Like you can't just quit the job. Like you have to keep showing up, man. Right? I mean, so that's awesome. I appreciate that. And then so your kids too. I think if I did this research correctly, do you have a daughter and then maybe a son? Is that
Yes.
is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was curious, like if you don't mind me asking, because I think your daughter might have been a college athlete too. What what advice did you give to her, like transition? Because she was an athlete going from playing sports into either corporate America. I'm not exactly sure what she's doing, but
Yeah.
like what advice did you share with her?
Well, she was a water polo, got a water polo scholarship to Indiana and was a water polo player. And she had a very interesting dilemma because she her first 2 years were great. Her junior year, they were doing really good. Then COVID hit and canceled the rest of their season.
Mm.
So that was very, she was doing very well in school and did well in school. And coming up on her senior year, she was like, well, Dad, I don't know that, they're going to have a right to schedule. It seems like it's very going to be limited. It was all the unknown, right? I don't know what the season's going to be. And she goes, I love playing water polo. I don't think that I'm going to play pro because playing pro requires me to go overseas. There's no pro in, US. So I think I'm going to just graduate early because, there's what's the point at this point? If it's going to be, a wonky season, why don't I just go out and just go out and just start my life? And for me at first, I was like, well, you only get this chance once. You're a kid. Keep playing for as long as you can play. And then I was like, well, I totally get that and understand if you have this great opportunity. And she is in a marketing agency where she's, account supervisor and doing extremely well and been promoted, 3 times already. So your whole advice is, just keep that drive of, when you were just in sports, just keep that drive of being the best you can be, and just work very hard at it, and just be not only work hard, but be that person to where if someone's struggling, they'll go, hey, I could come up to you and get advice. So don't just be that person that works hard and is maybe that prima donna where you're not a team player. Be that team player, and you'll find success. So that worked out very good for her, very well. And then
That's
for my son,
yeah.
he is a high school football player right now,
Okay.
and His freshman year, he was in varsity. He tore ligaments in his thumb, so he missed the playoff game that they had against Mater Dei, the number one team in the nation. So that was unfortunate.
Mm.
And his sophomore year, right before that, he injured the same thumb. He had to miss his whole sophomore year. His junior year, slot receiver, doing really well, getting lots of reps, scoring touchdowns. He's on a kickoff return, breaks his foot. So now it's his senior year, and he was doing really well there. It was their fourth game coming up. Well, the game before that, he sprained his ankle. He played the rest of the game with a sprained ankle. The last game they were at, he was blocking, got rolled up on, and severely sprained ankle. Definitely. So he's going to miss some time. So his whole thing has been fight through the injuries and just don't give up. Just keep going hard, and things will come. And it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get looks, and I'm like, well, son, you know what? You decide when you stop playing as an athlete. That's one thing. You decided. There's plenty of different places you can go to play football, even if you have to walk on. But you decide when you're done, and just keep that spirit up and keep that fight up. And he's done that. And he got just last week he got a offer to come out on a visit. So things will happen.
There you go. Things will happen. Yeah, it's tough with that injury bug, but no, I appreciate you talking about that. And that's like, even if football isn't the path, which hopefully it is, but like just going through that is going to serve him. I'm sure is going to serve him down the road, like for 100%. Life. That's definitely. So
it's a life lesson. Everything's not going to be rosy when you're out there and you have your first job. You're going to have struggles, you're going to have problems, and you're going to feel like they don't appreciate the work you're doing. No one's going to come up to you and go, great job. I mean, if you do, then you have a great boss that you're working with. But there's a lot of times you're working where you're not getting thanked.
I agreed, man. So, all right, James, listen, I just want to take the opportunity to ask you maybe one or two more questions. One being, you've been on a fair share of podcasts, and I think it's great that you're able to get the message out however you can. Is there anything that you feel you don't get the opportunity to talk about enough, like that you would want to share with folks?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a couple things. There are one thing where you decide, to go into a franchise business, or do I already just buy an existing business? Because that'll be much easier because it'll already have revenue and flow. It might cost me a little bit more. We go tell you, well, you're going to inherit all the problems that this previous owner had. It's going to be very hard to look at data and find out really how much did it make. If they do show you the P&Ls, that's great. But just know you are in it. It's not always as good as it seems to get that revenue. There are some times when it would make sense, but I would tell you that most of those buying those existing businesses, you've got to really do your homework and know what you're looking for to make that work. And then the other thing that I'm glad you told me, you gave me this opportunity with this question is, if you ask me, what is the worst part of what I do? And I will tell you, it's when you work with a candidate, you show them different franchise options, and it's that time for them to decide of, what franchisor do you want to talk to or whatever. And then you get ghosted. You never get a phone call back. You text them, you never get a text back. And it's just, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you say, hey, I'm going in a different direction, or I just don't feel the timing's right. That's okay with me. Just let me know. And that is the most frustrating part of what I do is just the ghosting of just get back to me. It's okay. It saves me time of having to follow up with you. Just let me know. So I'm glad you asked me that, because that's my most frustrating part of what I do.
Yeah, well, definitely. That's funny you say that, because I recently had the chance to talk to Adam Brenneman. Are you very familiar with that name?
Yes, yes.
Okay, football player, yeah, Penn State, and I asked him, I was like, what's one thing you struggle with? Like, what's one thing you really want to improve? And he was like, communication to my team. And he was like, sometimes just saying no to people is tough, and I face this too occasionally because you don't want to maybe hurt somebody's feelings, or it's like that person would be better off if you just said, hey, now's not a good time, maybe down the road, or even just no. Like that's a really hard thing that I think I need to improve with too, and just like being straightforward with that communication. So yeah. So if you're in the process with James, tell him tell him you're not going to do it.
Tell me no if you're not
instead
going
of
forward, right?
instead of disappearing, man. I know, I hear you. That's tough, and something I need to do a better job of too, just in general. But well, awesome. So James, this is cool. I think what you do is just super interesting, and that's why I wanted to sit down with you. So I'm happy we were connected. If I'm somebody like if I'm an either maybe even it's either a current athlete or a former athlete that wants to reach out to you and just like wants to get started, what does that process look like? And then maybe share where they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. So the process basically is just really a very short 5-10 minute phone call to just kind of explain, franchise process and just if it's something that makes sense to explore. So just a brief intro call would be incredibly, you would get some knowledge from it. They would get some knowledge from it. And, you can find me at my website, thefrandream.com, or just James at thefrandream.com. Just shoot me an email, and would love to connect and talk with anyone.
Perfect. Well, I hope maybe one or two people can reach out to you and see if this makes sense for them. Maybe they'll be get into dog grooming. Maybe I should do that actually.
It's a great
To take my
business. It
dog.
really is.
I'm sure it is. That's what I've heard you mention it so many times. I'm like, I take like everybody has a dog, at least in my neighborhood. I'm sure it's pretty lucrative. So I don't know. It'd be interesting just to get started on that. But anyway. All right, James. Well, thanks again for your time, and looking forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. I had a blast.
All right, you got it.